80% of Americans watch TV each day. But one genre always seems to dominate people's screens with shows like I Love Lucy, Seinfeld, and Friends sitcoms. Like most people, I really enjoy sitcoms. It's not just the lovable characters or hilarious hijinks, it's just that it feels more real than any drama or sci fi could. That's because sitcoms have settings and events that feel more normal to us. Because it feels so real, I can adopt attitudes or mentalities from sitcoms as my own without even realizing it. And what I've found is that sitcoms are comedies, but they can create realities that you could see yourself being a part of and therefore wish to imitate. Now, this might not seem problematic at first, but these sitcoms can have harmful messages, and these can be picked up by impressionable young adults like myself because the content is more realistic. What I wanted to focus on as I attempted to research more on this topic was the messages pertaining to women in sitcoms. As I began to research, I had to start at the beginning of sitcoms, the 1950s. In this era, two things were happening. Television was becoming widely popularized, and the second wave of feminism was beginning. When I say wave of feminism, I'm referring to four eras of feminism. Each era dealt with different goals feminists wanted to achieve in that time period. In the second wave, the one occurring around the 50s to the 70s, feminists were concerned about a woman's purpose and roles in the world. After World War II, where women filled jobs left empty by men who went to fight, women got a taste of what it was like to work. When the war ended, men kicked women out of these jobs, expecting them to go back to normal and fulfill their domestic duties. This was also reflected in popular sitcoms at the time, like The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet in 1952, which depicted the idyllic suburban lifestyle, having all the women characters loving domesticity. In this clip, you can see the wife cleaning and making food for the men, which in itself is not sexist, but this is just an example of what the women in these sitcoms did most of the time. But this did not reflect how women saw themselves in this time period. Domesticity was not enough for women anymore. After this wave of feminism, there were two responses: the third wave of feminism that began in the 90s, and post feminism. The third wave of feminism focused on individuality tied with women's liberation. They accepted that feminism was full of contradictions and sought to discuss what it meant to be a woman. In this clip of the sitcom in the 90s, Daria, the main character is independent and is shown trying to break standards of what it means to be a girl.
You mean no standards?
Right.
Isn't there any time when how you look doesn't affect how you're judged?
When you donate an organ.
The other phenomenon, post feminism, is the idea that the feminist movement was over and the genders were more or less equal. As many scholars will note, post feminism is not an accurate portrayal of reality. This is because women still face many gender specific issues then and now. Post feminism was still seen in many 90s sitcoms, however. One example can be seen in the show Friends, when they popularized the term friend zone. In one episode, Ross complains about pursuing Rachel.
Because you waited too long to make your move, and now you're in the friend zone.
No. I'm not in the zone.
Oh, Ross, you're mayor of the zone.
Look, I'm taking my time, all right? I'm laying the groundwork.
Joey jokes that he better make a move soon or risk ending up in the friend zone. At first glance, the notion doesn't seem problematic, but it essentially means that if a man treats a woman well, she's expected to date him. Post feminist terms like these were harmful even if people didn't realize it. Today's wave of feminism, the fourth wave, aims to draw on the third wave's accomplishments and continue it. It does this by focusing on confidence, individuality, sex positivity, and self worth. The sitcoms of this era push the boundaries of what it means to be a sitcom. Now let's look more specifically into sexism and how it shows up in sitcoms. Many popular third wave shows use hyperbole and irony to make jokes about sexism. For example, Michael from The Office is a dunce character that makes sexist jokes. The point is to laugh at him at making the joke because of how stupid he is for making the joke at all. Personally, I adore The Office and I think it's hilarious, but there are definitely times where I think that it might cross the line. Irony can be a way for sitcoms to have it both ways. In essence, to make sexist jokes and then claim that this wasn't meant seems like a wink to both post feminist and feminist viewers so that they don't lose either audience. As previous studies have stated, it's not that young women don't see through this, but it's precisely because so much media fare geared to young women incorporates their own ironic, self reflexive critique that sorting out their effects, what creeps in through that shield of irony, is much harder to discern. At some point, hyperbole and over-exaggeration might not be enough to tackle the complexity of sexism and how it actually might be harmful to young women. Not only does hyperbole not seem to actually do anything to progress the feminist cause, but it seems to be a way for post-feminism and sexism to remain while outwardly claiming the show is having feminist messages. This style of addressing sexism is changing in sitcoms, however, as we move into the fourth era of feminism. The female characters that this generation is looking up to are the ones that are first and foremost people. In the hyperbole dominated sitcoms, there didn't seem to be a progression of feminist ideals or role models. The fourth wave sitcoms seem more willing to try using humor as a way to talk about the realities of feminism and openly reject sexism instead of letting the audience figure it out. One popular show that exemplifies this is a cop sitcom called Brooklyn Nine-Nine. This show never has discrimination, sexual orientation, or sexism as a joke, but has the main characters confront or ignore those who find those funny. It's also important to note that the intersectionality of feminism that is highlighted in the show, which is a big feature of fourth wave feminism. For those who don't know, intersectional feminism is recognizing that not all women face the same kind of discrimination. There are many other factors like race, sexuality, and religion that can add to a woman's struggle. Almost all of the show's leading women are not white, and they're allowed to explore their cultural differences and experiences as women of color. Sometimes the show will dedicate whole episodes to discuss sexist topics in length. They even sacrifice the lightheartedness of the show for a more respectful and serious tone. In this clip, one of the main female characters comes out as bisexual, and the show goes on to discuss what that means to her in a respectful and understanding way.
Something I'd like to say. I'm a pretty private person, so this is kind of hard for me, but here we go. I'm bisexual. All right.
Just be honest with them, right? Tell them how you feel. Like you could say, Mom, Dad, I'm bisexual, but I'm still your daughter. I'm still the same person that I've always been, and who I love will never change that. You guys raised me to be strong and confident, and I don't want to hide who I am anymore. I am bi.
Leaning into complexities of being a woman is a key factor in Brooklyn Nine-Nine and is a prominent part of another fourth wave sitcom, New Girl. The show portrays Jess, a very feminine woman who moves into an apartment with three goofy male strangers. Jess never shies away from the fact that she's a feminist, and that being feminine does not make her any less so. She is also never afraid to talk about her sexuality, snap at sexist comments, and challenge double standards. The show does an amazing job at confronting contradictions of being a woman.
I have touched glitter in the last 24 hours. I spend my entire day talking to children, and I find it fundamentally strange that you're not a dessert person. That's just weird, and it freaks me out. And I'm sorry I don't talk like Murphy Brown, and I hate your pantsuit. I wish it had ribbons on it or something to make it just slightly cuter. And that doesn't mean I'm not smart and tough and strong.
These shows tackle taboo topics with ease because of how humor is used. They don't aim to skirt around the topic like those overlap sitcoms do. They embrace the awkwardness so that young viewers can do the same in their real lives. There's no doubt that women and their roles on sitcoms have come a long way since they were first created. Information comes from so many different places, and television has proven to be an important one. To change mindsets among young women and even young men, we need more shows on popular networks that reflect the positive messages of fourth wave feminism. If the patriarchal culture within which we live is to change, even minor things like sitcoms do as well.